Our first, we're of course very lucky to have so many of the preeminent voices from the progressive media world on with us today. People who don't just move the Overton window, they break it, they reframe it, they put it in a new spot. Very excited to host them today. Our first guest will be Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA.
Hi, Sarah. Hey, everyone. Hi. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for doing this roundtable. And it's an honor to be here with everyone else on the panel. So I have a couple of questions. I'll try to make them really quick so that everyone obviously gets a chance to ask their questions. But my first one is, I'm kind of excited about this. You have a proven track record of moving an agenda through, as well as smashing records for fundraising, and that helps empower and grow your coalition. Vice President Joe Biden also has experience in the White House. So if he does win this election, Democrats are going to have two experienced experts who can hit the ground running with a tight coalition under your leadership. This is a huge advantage that we will need in order to repair much of the Trump damage. You mentioned in your press conference this morning that House Democrats are ready to go. What are your immediate and longer term priorities in the next Congress under a Joe Biden presidency?
Thank you, Sarah, for your question. Same as we did in 2018, we had three things. For the people, we're going to lower the cost of healthcare. So we've already passed our enhancement of the affordable healthcare. We do want I wanted a public option before. We couldn't get that through the Senate. But let's put all these suggestions on the table and see where we go from that. So healthcare, healthcare, healthcare. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Again, we said before healthcare, and then we said building the infrastructure in a green way. Well, that will be an early initiative for us. But HR 1 will be first, cleaner government. Cleaner government. We might sometimes get the president, or he's gone now, but some of the Republicans to support us on maybe prescription drugs, maybe on infrastructure. Cleaner government, forget it. They're nowhere there. Nowhere they went. Why would they not be for Voting Rights Act and things like that that are contained in there? But anyway, those HR 1 will be first again to give people confidence that there can be a change, whether it's gun safety or whether it's healthcare, whether it's clean air, whether we're talking about the climate crisis and the rest, that the fossil fuel industry, the gun industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the insurance industry is not dominating the discussion. It's people. And that is, it kind of, as John Sarbanes says, it caffeinates the discussion because it makes it a level playing field that people think their word will have. Now, in addition to that, we passed 10 bills that were our priorities. The first 10 are the leadership. And some of them are in what I already said. For the People Act, that's one. 2, Moving Forward Act, that is the Moving America Forward is the infrastructure bill. Lower drug costs and the healthcare piece, that's it. Then the Voting Rights Advancement, which is part of HR 1, but we had to do it separately so we would have a firm constitutional basis for it. The Equality Act, ending discrimination of LGBTQ community, Dream and Promise about immigration, protecting our dreamers and the rest. Paycheck Fairness and Violence Against Women Act, that here. Background checks, HR 8. It is 8 because it was introduced 8 years from the day that Gabby Giffords was shot. And then background checks, I said, and then climate action now, which goes back to moving forward. And then, of course, we now have the justice and policing with on the leadership of Karen Bass. So those were our captured, in many cases bipartisan, not overwhelmingly bipartisan, but the priorities of our caucus. But the first 3, healthcare, jobs, clean government, will work with the new president for his Build Back Better is a lot like some of what we have. And again, the climate issue for me was my flagship issue when I was speaker the first time, and it continues to be, but it's a jobs issue. Well, it's a health issue, public health, clean air, clean water. It's a jobs issue. Our preeminence in the green technologies. It's a security issue. National security experts tell us the competition for habitat and resources in the light of drought and famine and rising sea levels and encroachment of deserts and drying up of rivers and the rest becomes a security issue. And of course, it's a values issue that we pass the planet on to the next generation. So that's like a caucus wide, every committee wide to weigh in on that. And Kathy Castor has put forth a report on that. So we're ready. We're ready. Now, let me just say this, Sarah. When when Barack Obama won in 2008, we were in the majority already, and we prepared, working with tempered by his, or enhanced by his transition, the ARA, American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. We were working on it when we were in office, 2.5 weeks before him. By the time he got into office, we were right on the way and he could sign it very soon. So we will have to have a big bill. I'm hoping that we can get rid of a lot of the needs that we have for COVID, but we'll still have to do more there. But what we're talking about next is more generally pieces of the infrastructure bill and the rest, if not all of it. But we'll be ready. We'll have something very significant. That's why it's important that we win the Senate. So those
Absolutely.
are the priorities that we have. And you have to prioritize, especially in the beginning, because we want to get things like when we did Lilly Ledbetter, it was the first bill the president signed and already. Some of our bills are just waiting for a president to sign. So, and some of them are inspired by the president, the new president.
That's a lot to look forward to for people who've been suffering for 4 years. I want to touch on the healthcare bit just really quickly, speaking for myself and a large group of people who have long haulers COVID. And this current president claimed under him, they seem to claim if once you're out of the hospital and you're no longer on a ventilator, you're recovered. But in fact, that's not true. And many of us have been kind of just left out here to suffer on our own and try to figure this out. So do House Democrats have a plan to, with the new president, to help the American people have a federal response to COVID and help all these issues that have kind of fallen by the wayside after Trump has abdicated his responsibility?
Well, our plan is in the HEROES Act. It's a plan that is science-based, is funded adequately, and it is something that is fair. And they've said, oh, we'll support what you're doing on testing now, which they haven't done. Now they say they will. Mm-hmm. And then they took out all of the money, all of the language for communities of color. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, are we on the same planet or something here? So we're still waiting today. 2 weeks ago today, the secretary said, I'm going to accept your language, testing, tracing, treating, mask wearing, sanitation, separation, all of that. And then they took 55% of the language out. That was called a light touch. So we have the essence of it there. Right now, as you may have seen, I said this morning, we're now at a fork in the road. We can continue on a deadly path that the president has us on: denial, distortion, delay, death. Or we can go the scientific quackery, or we can go the scientific route that will enable us to open up our schools safely, our economy safely, if we crush the virus. What's his name? Mark Meadows confessed. He confessed on Sunday that they were not going to control the virus. They were just going to have therapies and vaccine, but that doesn't control the spread. And to your point, Sarah, the long haul, they're again in denial. The president says, I'm better, look at me, you look at you. We don't want to look at you. This long haul is a pre-existing medical condition. And if we do get the vaccine, I mean, God willing, we will soon, and we have the therapies, we have to make sure that they are accessible, affordable, available to everyone. This is an assault on the health and well-being of the healthy America, not just individuals, but as a community. And the input from someone who has it and says it's not over when it's over is very important. So I appreciate what you had to say. I'm sorry that you're still experiencing long haul, but we know that that is. And then almost 9 million people will have a pre-existing medical condition or the potential for that. And they want to take that away in the court by putting forth a nominee for the court, now confirmed, who couldn't even answer the question when she was asked by Dianne Feinstein, do you think that Medicare is constitutional? I can't really say. So understand, this is a battle. It's a battle. They can't even say, when they asked her about climate, oh, I'm not a scientist, and there's controversy. What are we doing? So just remember that we can overturn whatever the court does if we have the Senate. And if you want me to talk about that for a second, you know, 60 votes and all that, I'm not getting into the filibuster and all that. That's up to them to do. But what's up to us to do is to do what we did when we passed the Affordable Care Act. We had a reconciliation bill that determined that the healthcare bill would pass with 51 votes. And that's what we need to do for infrastructure. It's what we need to do for further COVID legislation. It's what we need to do for the healthcare bill. Anything that relates to the budget, we can do. We can't do policy. We have to, but if it relates to the budget, and a lot of things do, whether Republicans realize that or not, just so that's it. Our path is reconciliation, 51 votes, have to win on Tuesday.
I'm going to ask
Speaker Pelosi.